This took place on my very last day of high school. I was on my senior year, so after I got through today, it would be the very end of high school for me. Of course, I was super excited, and I felt a huge amount of relief, but there was also a sadness in the air for me that day. Because all it really meant was that I was going to have to leave all my friends behind and have to make new ones in college. I tried to not look at it so negatively, because ultimately it is what it is, and it's just a part of life, changes. I don't remember exactly why or what happened, but I was in a particularly bad mood this day because of things that were going on at home with my family. I think it was fifth hour, which was biology class. I didn't mind the class really, but the teacher was the one that made it horrible. Mr. Johnson was a jerk to me and many of the other kids in my class. I honestly don't know how he hadn't been fired sooner. He was notorious for getting into it with the kids and getting into screaming matches. One time he even broke a kid's phone, and another time he legit threatened me in front of the whole class. I don't think he works there as a teacher anymore, but I really didn't feel like going to his class that day, so I skipped it. I went over to the library, and my plan was to lay low until sixth hour. I hid in the back of the library in the computer section and pretended like I was doing my schoolwork, but really I was playing games on my phone the entire time. Not too long after this, all of a sudden, the school's intercom went off. We were having a lockdown. Although I will admit it alarmed me, I figured it was just a practice drill and that our school was just testing us again. Our school does at least 2 practice drills each semester, so I played it risky and decided to hang tight. But all of a sudden, I heard screaming down the hall. It was very muffled sounding, and I couldn't make out what was being said. All I could hear was the screaming. It seemed to have gone on for a couple of minutes. I quickly started to realize that we were probably in a real lockdown. I panicked, and I thought my best bet was to hide somewhere in the library, so I hid under the computer desks. Not the best spot, I know, but I figured it was better than nothing. I kept quiet and waited for the PA to come back on, and for it to say the drill was over with, but it never did. It must have been 20 minutes of me just lying there in fear. I took my phone out at one point, and I saw that I had like 20 plus messages from some of my classmates from biology, and they asked where I was, and that we were in a real lockdown. That was when my heart dropped to my stomach, and I started to feel sick. I told them all I was safe and that I was hiding in the library. There was nobody else in the library with me as far as I knew, because there weren't any teachers or kids when I first walked in, which was actually quite unusual. Nonetheless, it freaked me out even more that I was pretty much alone. I just kept waiting in hopes that it was all going to be over soon. Well, it was only just the beginning. I didn't know what I had really got myself into by skipping class. A few more minutes passed by and the screaming picked back up again, and then shortly after, I heard someone running through the hall. Then my worst fear came alive. The library door opened and somebody was walking inside. As scared as I was, I managed to peek my head up to see if I could see who it was. But all I could see was a dark shadow of someone that looked like to be around my height. I hid back under the desk, and that was when I saw a flashlight turn on. Whoever it was began searching all around. All I can remember is praying to God that I was going to be okay. Eventually, the person made their way over to the cubicle I was in by all of the computers. I knew it was only a matter of seconds before he were to see me, so I jumped out from under the desk again and made myself visible. "Hey," I said. Within a second, I had a flashlight pointing at me along with a gun. "Tyler? What the hell are you doing, man?" I asked. Tyler was one of my close friends in middle school, but we didn't keep up with each other much ever since starting high school. Through the years, we kind of had a falling out and went our separate ways. Anyways, I told him to put the gun down, and after almost a full minute of silence from him, he started to break down crying and dropped to the floor. I kicked the gun away and reassured him that it was going to be okay. And I told him that we needed to do the right thing and that he needed to turn himself in if he really wanted any chances of getting better. Surprisingly, he actually listened to me, and I walked with him towards the office until we found a teacher, and the teacher then led us to the police. I, as a witness, told him everything that I knew, and Tyler also complied 100% as well. I'm just happy that Tyler found me rather than someone else. I was one of Tyler's only friends in his eyes, and if he would have found someone else, I'm sure he would have killed them truthfully. We really need to raise awareness for this kind of stuff and do everything as a society that we can to limit the violence in school shootings specifically. As much as I don't like Tyler for what he did, he was a kid who was bullied and picked on his whole life, and had a horrible home life along with different types of mental illnesses, I'm sure. So really, it's no surprise if you think about it, what he attempted to do. That's usually how it goes down. It's deafening and unbelievably horrible that some people are capable of doing things like this, and that's to say the least. But we really need to do our best to prevent them from happening in the first place.